I do not think you're going to see a lot of finger pointing or the circular firing squad, but we are going to see a good, hard look at what we did, and we're going to make adjustments, and we're going to move on.
Democratic Visions is handmade by volunteers for the entire metro region by DFL Senate District 42.
Our next guest is our favorite all fingers, no thumbs blogger, Tommy Johnson. Tommy wears many hats. He's a regular contributor to Minnesota Progressive Project, and he's a guest host on KTNF, AM 950. Tommy, welcome to the program.
Thanks. It's good to be back, Tim.
So we all know the problem that we're looking at. We got sort of massacred in the election. What do you think we could have done to avoid this, short of being able to cure the national economy, which we aren't able to do ourselves?
It comes down to messaging. The Republicans specifically have focused in on that, on how to get their message out to their base and get them motivated.
So give us some examples of what you're talking about as far as messaging.
Well, I'm talking about new media, and I'm talking about Twitter and YouTube and
maybe not so new, huh? I mean, it's not like it was invented yesterday, right?
No, it isn't, but we don't use it effectively.
You think that the Luddites and the Republicans actually know how to operate that new communication system?
They beat us badly this cycle.
Good point. Is this something that you think is correctable?
Not with the current people in charge.
What about, is it a lack of money?
Well, the money is always going to be an issue, especially after the Supreme Court ruling, Citizens United, which really aren't Citizens United, that's big business.
Yeah, it's one of the worst rulings issued by the Supreme Court, and they've issued a lot of bad ones, I got to tell you that.
Yes, so we're always going to be, from here on out, at a disadvantage on money. The only way we can beat that is through grassroots efforts and a strong communications program, and we simply don't have a strong communications program or a strong communications infrastructure.
Tommy, let's zero in on Eden Prairie. What happened out here in the local elections?
Well, even though it wasn't a good night for Democrats, at the local level it wasn't a good night for Republicans. We had 3 non-endorsed candidates that beat the endorsed Republican candidates.
Who are they?
Nancy Tyler-Lukens for mayor, Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom, and Kathy Nelson for city council.
Tremendous.
It is. It's a good night for Republicans all over the place, except in Eden Prairie.
It sort of surprises me that Republican-endorsed candidates out for city council might not have a leg up. Is that considered a sort of a stigma to have a party endorsement?
There's a lot of Republicans, the concerned, principled Republicans, the old moderate Republicans, that are very offended by what today's Republican Party is doing.
Did you have any observations of the Tea Party this election cycle?
I did. I went last Thursday, the Thursday before the Tuesday election, and it was kind of funny because they held it at the Eden Prairie Community Center.
What is this, a rally?
Yeah, it was a rally, but you know they're supposed to hate government, but here they are meeting in a government-financed community building. Mm-hmm. I mean, I see the little irony
a little
in there.
Ironic, I'd say, yes.
It was not an independent Tea Party.
No,
it was a Republican rally.
Can I stop you right here?
Sure.
Do they recognize you when you walk in the door?
Absolutely.
So what do they tell you? What do they tell you? I mean, sit over there, please, where your journalism credentials.
No,
what's going on?
But they watch me. I mean,
right?
I'm not wearing my hat today.
Can you bring a camera into that, or would they object to that?
I didn't ask, and I didn't try.
Yeah.
I just went.
So tell me what you observed.
What I observed was a Republican rally under the guise of a Tea Party. They asked some really silly questions.
What do you mean ask questions? Who were they asking the questions?
Well, they had a flyer handout, and one of the things is, do you believe that government can create jobs? Okay. And then the answer was no. Right. And I wanted to ask them, I was like, have you ever drank a bottle of Gatorade? There's been a lot of jobs created from the government expenditure at the University of Florida for Gatorade. Did you ever have a glass of Tang when you were a kid? Came from NASA. You know, look at the technology that we have.
That's who we have to blame for that. I wondered about that.
Cell phones, GPS, the internet. I mean, how many jobs do we have in the internet that was created by the government?
Yeah. So how long did this rally go on?
It went on for 2.5 hours.
And how many people were there?
At the beginning, there's about 35, and by the end of the night, it was 85.
Any common characteristics of those in attendance?
They were old.
Yeah.
They were old, and they were very angry, and they were afraid.
I'm sure.
Yes, very opinionated and afraid.
Who would lead that kind of rally?
The people that were leading it were the Minnesota Tea Party Patriots was the umbrella organization. It was actually hosted by the Southwest Tea Party out of Chanhassen.
You ever heard of any of these organizations before?
Actually, I have.
How did you find out about this?
There was a flyer in the Eden Prairie News.
No way.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, it was. So I was like, well, I'm going to go up there. It's in a taxpayer-paid facility, which is something they don't like.
Well, once they sell it off, then they don't have to worry about that any longer, right? Then they can just go into a building that's unheated and no lights. So, Tommy, give us a glimmer of hope going forward. What do you see happening out in the southwest suburbs in 2012 when everybody is back up for election?
What I see is that we are going to take a real hard, cold, dispassionate look at what went right, what went wrong. We're going to make some changes, and we're going to move on. I do not think you're going to see a lot of finger pointing or the circular firing squad, but we are going to see a good, hard look at what we did, and we're going to make adjustments, and we're going to move on. And I think we are going to make a lot of improvements on communications, both in content and in infrastructure.
Tommy, your analysis is normally spot on. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
That's it for Democratic Visions. We'll see you next time.
Democratic Visions is handmade in Eden Prairie and Minnetonka by DFL Senate District 42. Norbert Gurnis, Chair. Democratic Visions can also be seen on our website, dflsd42.org.
Here's a really good idea. If you want to meet the kind of leaders and thinkers you see on Democratic Visions, well, just attend a community forum near you. The forums discuss the issues of the day at local schools, libraries, and restaurants. You'll love the informal access to Minnesota's leading policymakers and a few critics. Topics, times, and places in suburban Hennepin County are listed at www.dfl3cd.org. Now that's dfl3cd.org. We'll be looking for you.
That's really important. Primary care providers, nurses, and a lot of other